The plant you are about to yank out of your lawn is not a weed. It only looks like one. Every spring you see them, those bright yellow heads scattered across the grass, and the reflex is instant. Pull them, spray them, get them gone before they spread. Put the trowel down for 1 minute because the dandelion you are about to kill is one of the most useful plants that will ever grow in your yard, and almost nobody realizes it until it is gone. It is food. It is medicine older than most countries. It is the first meal of the year for the bees your garden depends on. And it is quietly doing repair work on your soil that you would otherwise pay someone to do. There is even a reason it chose your lawn in particular, a message it is sending you about the ground itself. And I will get to that. But first, let me show you what you have actually been ripping out all these years. Start with the thing that shocks people most. Every single part of a dandelion is edible, and it was not always the enemy of a tidy lawn. For most of human history, it was a crop. European settlers did not fight dandelions off their ships. They brought the seeds with them on purpose, carried across an ocean because the plant was too valuable to leave behind. The young leaves are a bitter green, eaten in salads and cooked like spinach, and they are dense with vitamins A, C, and K. The bright flower can be battered and fried or turned into a golden wine that people have made for centuries. The root, dried and roasted, becomes a coffee substitute with no caffeine and a deep, earthy taste. This is not survival food or a novelty. It is a plant that fed families for generations, sitting in your yard right now, and the only thing that changed is that at some point we decided a perfect green lawn mattered more than a free and nutritious one. So how did a plant that people once carried across oceans become the thing we spend money and weekends trying to destroy? The answer has almost nothing to do with the dandelion and everything to do with us. For most of history, a yard was for growing food. Then, over the last century, a new idea took hold. The flawless carpet of short green grass as a sign of a well-kept home. And anything that broke that green was suddenly a flaw. The dandelion did not change. Our idea of a lawn did. And an entire industry grew up around that idea, one that profits every single time you decide the yellow flower in your grass is an enemy that needs a chemical to defeat. You were not born hating dandelions. You were taught to, fairly recently, and by people who had something to sell. And food is only the beginning of what you have been throwing away. For hundreds of years, the dandelion was one of the most important plants in the medicine cabinet, valued as a bitter tonic for the liver and digestion, and as a gentle diuretic, so much so that one of its old folk names literally refers to that effect. Herbalists have used every part of it, and modern kitchens across the world still treat it as a delicacy rather than a nuisance. But here is the part I most want you to hear, because it reaches far beyond your own yard. The dandelion is one of the very first flowers to bloom in early spring, often before almost anything else has woken up. And that timing is everything. When bees emerge from the winter, starving, with the trees still bare and the garden still empty, the dandelion is frequently the only food waiting for them. That patch of yellow you are about to spray is, for a few critical weeks, a lifeline for the pollinators that will later go on to pollinate your vegetables, your fruit trees, and half of everything else that grows. When you erase the dandelions, you are not just tidying a lawn. You are taking away the first meal of the year for the insects your entire garden quietly depends on. And that is before we even get to what the plant is doing underground, which is the part almost nobody knows. Look at a dandelion and you see a flat rosette of leaves and a flower. What you do not see is the taproot, a single thick root that can drive straight down through the soil, sometimes 6 inches, sometimes far deeper. That root is doing work. In compacted, hard-packed ground where grass roots cannot penetrate, the dandelion's taproot punches down like a living drill, breaking up the soil and opening channels for air and water to move through. And as it grows, it pulls minerals, especially calcium, up from deep down where nothing else can reach, and stores them in its leaves. When the plant dies back, Those minerals are released into the topsoil, feeding everything around it. Gardeners have a name for a plant that does this. They call it a dynamic accumulator. In plain terms, the dandelion is aerating your soil and fertilizing it for free while you were busy trying to kill it. And this is the message I promised you at the start. The reason the dandelion chose your lawn in particular. Dandelions do not thrive just anywhere. They flourish in soil that is compacted, poor, and low in calcium, exactly the conditions that struggling grass hates and healthy grass would crowd out. So a lawn full of dandelions is not a lawn with a weed problem. It is a lawn telling you, in the clearest way it can, that the soil underneath is hard and hungry. The dandelion is both the messenger and the repair crew, showing up precisely where the ground needs fixing and getting to work fixing it. Which means when you spray them and they come back year after year, it is not because the dandelion beat you, it is because you keep treating the symptom and never touch the cause. The compacted soil is still there, still calling them in. So here is what you actually do, and spraying is not on the list. If you genuinely do not want a yard full of dandelions, do not fight the plant, fix the reason it is there. Aerate your lawn to relieve the compaction, feed the soil, and let thick, healthy grass do the crowding out the way it naturally would. Solve the ground, and the dandelions lose their reason to stay. If you are open to keeping some, leave them at least through early spring for the bees, when they matter the most and almost nothing else is blooming. And if you want to actually use what is growing for free in your yard, you can, with one firm rule. Only ever harvest dandelions from ground you know has never been treated with herbicide or pesticide, and never from roadsides, because the plant pulls up whatever is in the soil, including the bad things. Be sure you have correctly identified the plant, then pick the young leaves before the flower opens, when they are least bitter, and give them a good wash. To remove a single plant by hand, dig the entire taproot out, because any piece left behind will simply grow back, which is the plant's stubbornness working against you instead of for you. Identify what you have, decide what it is worth to you, and act on that instead of reaching for a sprayer out of pure habit. The dandelion in your lawn is not a weed to be erased on sight. It is food, it is old medicine, it is the first meal of spring for the bees your garden cannot live without, and it is a repair crew quietly working the soil beneath your feet, all of it hiding in plain sight behind a shape you were taught to hate. It does not deserve a sprayer and a trowel. It deserves a second look. So the next time you see that flash of yellow across your grass and your hand reaches for it, stop. Ask what it is really doing there. The answer has been growing under your nose the whole time. Have you ever pulled something out of your yard and later found out it was worth keeping, or discovered a use for a plant you always thought was a weed? Tell me about it in the comments. I read every single one. Every plant in your garden is hiding a story exactly like this one. And on this channel, we go looking for them one at a time. So if you want to keep seeing your garden a little differently, subscribe and I will meet you at the next one. I will see you there.